The Marines were already laughing the moment he stepped onto the firing range. An old veteran in faded denim, carrying an orange rifle that looked more like a toy than a weapon. No one expected what happened next. No one believed the story behind that strange rifle. And absolutely no one imagined that the shot he was about to take would echo across the desert, trigger an alert on the base, and force the general himself to sprint toward the range. But that's the thing about legends. They don't arrive with fanfare. They arrive quietly, just before the world remembers who they are. The sun beat down over the Marine training grounds, turning the sand into shimmering glass. New recruits stood in a messy line, waiting for their marksmanship session, bored and restless. That was when the old man appeared out of the dust. Slow steps, weathered face, and in his hands that impossible bright orange rifle. The Marines burst into laughter instantly.
"Hey, Grandpa! Halloween's over. Is that thing even real? Someone get him a Nerf vest too!"
The sergeant tried to quiet them, but even he couldn't hide his smirk. The old man didn't react. Not a flinch, not a blink. He set his rifle case down and opened it with the care of a surgeon. Some of the recruits leaned in, expecting to see a toy, but inside was the cleanest, most custom-built long-range weapon any of them had ever seen. Every piece polished, every screw replaced, every edge sharp as if time had never touched it. Still to them it was just orange. The sergeant cleared his throat. "Name, sir." The old man tightened his glove and replied softly, "Call me Hawk." A few Marines chuckled again, but something in his voice, calm, steady, carved from battle, silenced the front row. Hawk adjusted the rifle on the bench, taking his time. His bones moved slowly, but with a strange precision, like he'd done this thousands of times. The recruits shifted impatiently. "Sir, target is at 300 meters, the sergeant said. "Just a warm-up shot." But Hawk shook his head. "No, that's too close." The Marines exchanged confused looks. Hawk finally lifted his gaze and pointed far, very far, toward the mountains. Beyond the standard targets. Beyond the range limits. A place no one practiced. No one dared. "That ridge," he said calmly. 4,000 meters. The laughter returned louder than before. "No one can hit that."
"That's impossible. I see Senil."
But Hawk said nothing. He lay flat, sighed deeply, and pressed his cheek against the stock like greeting an old friend. Suddenly the joking died. Something about the way he moved, the stillness, the focus, felt different. The world seemed to shrink around him. The wind softened. Even the desert heat paused. 4,000 meters. The Marines leaned forward. Hawk inhaled, held, and squeezed. The shot tore through the silence like lightning. A second later, a faint metallic thud echoed back from the mountain ridge. Then an alarm blared across the base. The Marines froze. The sergeant blinked at the range officer. Why is security triggered?" The officer stared at his monitor. Something just hit the emergency sensor on the ridge. He hesitated. That sensor is only reachable by high, precision snipers. Everyone turned to the old man. Hawk simply whispered, "Your turn, boys." And then the sound of fast, approaching footsteps thundered across the sand. The general was coming. The Marines scrambled to attention as the general marched onto the range, boots cutting deep into the sand. He didn't look angry. He looked stunned. His eyes swept over the recruits, then landed on the old man still lying behind the orange rifle. "You," the general said, voice sharp. "Was it you who hit my 4,000-meter early warning sensor?" A Hawk sat up slowly, stretching his stiff back.
"Yes, sir."
Needed to check the wind patterns. The general's jaw tightened. Recruits expected a blast of anger, a lecture, maybe even punishment. Instead, the general stepped closer, studying the veteran's face. Something softened in his eyes, a flicker of recognition. "You," he whispered. "You're still alive." The Marines exchanged shocked glances. The general knelt beside Hawk like a man greeting a ghost. "You were the one they called the Desert Hawk, the man who saved the convoy in '87 with a single shot in a sandstorm." The recruits inhaled sharply. Those who had mocked him suddenly felt their faces burn with shame. Hawk shrugged gently. "That was a long time ago. But no one has ever replicated that shot," the general said firmly. "Not one soul until today." The desert went quiet again. The general turned to the recruits. "Listen well, Marines. Skill fades. Bodies weaken. Years take what they want, but spirit stays. Experience stays. And respect stays." He stepped behind Hawk, placing a hand on the veteran's shoulder. This man carried that bright rifle because he didn't need camouflage to prove his aim. He didn't need youth to prove his worth, and today, he reminded this entire base what true mastery looks like. The Marines lowered their heads. One recruit stepped forward, voice cracking. "Sir, we're sorry. We shouldn't have laughed." Hawk's smile finally appeared. Thin, gentle, forgiving. "Don't be sorry," he said. "Laughing is easy. Learning is the hard part. Now, who wants to try the ridge target?" The recruits eagerly lined up, newfound respect in every step. The day ended with stories, long-forgotten memories, tales of the past, and the powerful connection between generations of warriors. The orange rifle was no longer a joke. It was a symbol, a reminder. And as the sun set behind the mountains, the general turned to Hawk one last time. "You know, you could have warned me before triggering my sensor." A Hawk chuckled. "Where's the fun in that?" The two men laughed softly, and in that fading light, the Marines saw something unforgettable. Not just a veteran, but a legend returning home.